The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 3, Section 4. Reply to the address of welcome at Ramnad. At Ramnad, the following address was presented to Swami Vivekananda by the Raja, His Most Holiness, Shri Paramhamsa Yatiraja Digvijaya Kolahala Sarvam Mata संप्रदीपन्ना परम योगीवारा श्रीमद् भगवान श्री रामकृष्ण परमहंसा कर कमला संजता राजाधिराज सेविता श्री स्वामी विवेकानंद. May it please your holiness. We, the inhabitant of the ancient and historian Samsthanam of Setubandha Rameshwaram, otherwise known as Ramannathapuram or Ramanad, beg most cordially to welcome you to this, our motherland. We deem it a very rare privilege to be the first to pay your holiness our heartful homage on your landing in India, and that on the shores sanctified by the footstep of that great hero and our revealed Lord, Sri Bhagwan Ramachandra. We have watched with feelings of genuine pride and pleasure the unprecedented success which has crowned your laudable efforts in bringing home to the masterminds of the West the intrinsic merits and excellence of our time honored and noble religion. You have, with an eloquency that in unsurpassed unsurpassed and in language plain and unmistakable, proclaim to convinced the cultured audience in Europe and America that Hinduism fulfill all the requirements of the idea of the universal religion and adapts itself to the permanent or temporary temperament and needs of men and women of all races and creeds. Animated purity by a disinterested impulse, influenced by the best of motives and at considerable self-sacrifice. Your Holiness has crossed boundless seas and oceans to convey the message of truth and peace and to plant the flag of India's spiritual triumph and glory in the rich soil of Europe and America. Your Holiness has both by precept and practice shown the feasibility and importance of the universal brotherhood. Above all, your labors in the West have indirectly and to a great extent tended to awaken the apathetic sons and daughters of India to sense of the greatness and glory interest of their ancestry faith and to create in them a genius interest in the study and observance of their dear and priceless religion. We feel we cannot adequately convey in words our feelings of gratitude and thankfulness to your holiness for your philanthropic labors towards the spiritual regeneration of the East and the West. We cannot close this address without referring to the great kindness which your holiness has always extended to our Raja, who is one of your devoted disciples, and the honor and pride he feels by this gracious act of yours, holiness, in landing first on his territory in disintegrable. In conclusion, we pray to the Almighty to bless your holiness with long life and health and strengthen to enable you to carry on the good work that has been so ably inaugurated, inaugurated by you. With respect and love, we beg to subscribe ourselves, your holiness, most devoted and obedience, disciples and servants, Ramanand. 25th Jan 1897. The Swami's reply follows in extenso. The longest night seems to be passed away. The sorest trouble seems to be coming to an end, and at last the seeming corpse appears to be awakening, and the voice is coming to us. away back where history and even tradition fails to peep into the gloom of the past, coming down from there, reflect as it were from the peak to peak of infinite Himalayan knowledge, Himalaya of knowledge and of love, of work. India, this motherland of ours, a voice is coming unto us, gentle, firm, and yet unmistakable in its utterance, and is gaining volume as days pass by, and behold, the sleepers is awakening. Like a breeze from the Himalayas, it is bringing life into the most dead bones and muscles. The lethargy is passing away, and only the blind cannot see, or the perverted will not see, that she is awakening, this motherland of ours. From her deep, long sleep, none can resist her anymore. Never is she going to sleep anymore. No outward power can hold her back anymore, for the infinite giant is rising to her heart, to her feet. Your Highness and the gentlemen of Ramanand, accept my heartfelt thanks for the cordiality and kindness with which you have received me. I feel that you are cordial and kind, for the heart speaks up to the heart better than any language of the mouth. Spirit speaks up to the spirit in silence, and yet in make in most of unmistakable languages, and I feel it is in my heart of heart, your Highness of Ramanad, if there has been any work done by my humble self in the cause of our religion and our motherland in the Western countries, if any little work has been done in rousing the sympathies of our own people by drawing their attention to the inestablished, estimable jewel that inestimable jewel that they know how, they know not, are lying deep buried about their own home. If instead of dying of thirst and drinking dirty ditch water elsewhere out of blindness of ignorance, and they are being called to go and drink from the eternal fountain which is flowing perennially by their own home, if anything has been done to rouse our people towards action and to make them understand that it is everything. Religion and religion alone is the life of India, and when that goes, India will die in spite of politics, in spite of social reform, in spite of Kuber's wealth poured upon the head of every one of her children. If anything has been done towards this end, India and every country where any work has been done owes much of it to you, Raja of Ramanath. For it was you who gave me the idea first. It was you who persistently urged me on towards the work. You, as it were, intuitively understood what was going to be and took me by my hand and helped me all along and have never ceased me to encourage. Well, it's it, therefore, that you should be the first to rejoice at my success, and meet it is that I should first land in your territory on my return to India. Great works are to be done. Wonderful power has to be worked out. We have to teach other nations many things, as has been said already by your highness. This is the motherland of philosophy, of spirituality, of ethics, of sweetness, of gentleness, and of love. This still exists, and my experience of the world leads me to stand on the firm ground and make the bold statement that India is still the first and the foremost of all the nations of the world in this respect. Look at this little phenomenon. There have been immense political changes within the last 4 to or 5 years. Gigantic organization undertaking to subvert the whole of the existence institutions in different countries and meeting with a certain amount of success have been working all over the Western world. Ask our people if they have heard anything about them. They have heard not a word about them, but that there was a parliament of religion in Chicago, and that there was a sannyasi sent over from the India to the parliament, and that he was very well received, and since that time he has been working in the West. The poorest beggar has known. I have heard it said that our masses are dense, that they do not want any education, that they do not care for any information. I had to, at one time, a foolish lining towards the opinion myself, but I find experience is a far more glorious teacher than any amount of speculations or any amount of books written by the globe writer and hasty observers. This experience teaches me that they are not dense, that they are not slow, that they are as eager and thirsty for information as my any race under the sun. But then each nation has its own part to play, and naturally each nation has its own peculiarity and individuality with which it is born. Each represent has it where one peculiar note in the harmony of the nation, and this is a very life, its vitality. In it is the backbone, the foundation, and the bedrock of the national life. And here is the blessed land, the founder, the backbone, and the life center in religion and religion alone. Let others talk of politics, of the glory of acquisition, of immense wealth poured in by the trade, of the power and spread of commercialism, of the glorious fountain of physical liberty. But this the Hindu mind does not understand and does not want to understand. Touch him on spiritual or religious level, on God, on soul, on infinity, on spiritual freedom, and I assure you, the lowest peasant in India is better informed on this subject than many of so-called philosophers in other countries. I have said, gentlemen, I have I have said, gentlemen, that we have had something to teach to the world. This is a very reason, the reason they at three, that this nation has lived on, in spite of hundreds of years of persecution, in spite of nearly 1,000 years of foreign rules and foreign oppressions. This nation still lives. The reason the Ritra, Itra is it stood holds to God, to the treasure house of the religion and spirituality. In this land are still religion and spirituality, the fountains which will have to overflow and flood the world to bring in new life and new vitality to the West and other nations which are now almost borne down, half killed and degraded by the political ambitions and social scheming from out out of many voices, consonant and dissonant, from out of medley of sounds filling the Indian atmosphere, rising up supreme, striking and full one note, and that is renunciation, give up. That is the watchword of Indian religion. This world is a delusion of 2 days. The present life is of 5 minutes. Beyond is the infinite. Beyond this world of delusion. Let us seek that. This continent is illuminated with brave and gigantic minds and intelligence which even think of this so-called infinite universe has only a mud puddle. Beyond and still beyond they go. Time, even if infinite, even infinite time, is to them but non-exist. Beyond and beyond time they do. Space is nothing for to them. Beyond that they want to go. And this going beyond the phenomena is a very soul of religion. The characteristic of my nation is this transcendentism, this struggle to go beyond, this daring to tear the will of the face of nature and have at any risk, at any price, a glimpse of beyond. That is our ideal. But of course, all the people in the country cannot give up entirely. Do you want to enthuse them? Then here is the way to do so. Your talks of politics, of social regeneration, your talks of money making and commercialism, all these will roll off like water from the duck's back. This spirituality then is what you have to teach the world. Have we to learn anything else? Have we to learn anything from the world? We have perhaps to gain a little in the material knowledge, in the power of organism, in the ability to hand power, organism powers, in bringing the best results out of the smallest of causes. This perhaps to a certain extent we may learn from the West, but if anyone preaches in India the ideal of eating and drinking and making merry, if anyone wants to apotheosize the material world into the God, that man is a liar. He has no place in his holy land. The Indian mind does not want to first listen to him. In spite of the spark and glitters of the Western civilization, in spite of all its polish and its marvelous manifestation of power, standing upon this platform, I tell them to their face that it is all vain. It is vanity of vanities. God alone lives, the soul alone lives, spirituality alone lives. Hold on to that. And perhaps some sort of materialism toned down to our own requirements would be the blessing to many of our brothers who are not at rip for the biggest truth. This is the mistake made in every country, in every society, and it is greatly regrettable thing that in India, where it was always understood, the same mistake of forcing the highest truths on people who are not ready for them has been made of late. My method need not be yours. The sannyasin, as you all know, is the ideal of the Hindu life, and everyone by our Shastras is compelled to give up. Every Hindu who has tasted the fruits of the world must give up in the later part of his life, and he who does not is not a Hindu and has no more right to call himself a Hindu. We know that this is the ideal to give up after seeing and experiencing the vanity of things. Having found out that the heart of the material world is a mere hollow, containing only ashes, give it up, go back. The mind is circling forward, as it were, towards the senses, and that mind has to circle backwards. The pravritti has to stop and the nivritti has to begin. That is the ideal, but that ideal can only be realized after a certain amount of experience. We cannot teach the child the rule, the truth of renunciation. The child is born optimist. His whole life is in his senses. His whole life is one mass of sense enjoyment. So, there are childlike men in every society who require a certain amount of experience of enjoyment to see through the vanity of it, and then renunciation will come to them. There has been ample provision made for them in our books, but unfortunately, in later times, there has been a tendency to bind everyone down by the same law as those by which the sannyasin is bound, and that is the great mistake. But for that, a good deal of poverty and misery that you see in India have need not have been. A poor man's life is hemmed in and bound down by tremendous spiritual and ethical laws for which he has no use. Hands off, let the poor fellow enjoy himself a little, and then he will rise himself up, and renunciation will come to him of itself. Perhaps in this line we can be taught something by the Western people, we must be very but we must be very cautious in learning these things. I am sorry to say that most of the example one meets nowadays of men who have embedded the embedded the Western ideas are more or less failures. There are two great obstacles on the path in India: the Saila, the oldest orthodoxy, and the Charbadis, the modern European civilization. Of these two, I vote for the old orthodoxy and not for the Europeanized system. For the old Orthodox man, for the Europeanized system, and for the old Orthodox man may be ignorant and he may be cruel, but he is a man and he has a faith and he has a strength. He stands on his own feet, while the Europeanized man has no backbone and he masses to the heterogeneous ideas picked up at random from every source, and these ideas are unestimated, undigested, unharmonized. He does not stand on his own feet, and his head is turning round and round. Where is the motive? Where is the motive power of his work? In a few patronized pet from English people, his schemes of reform, his vehement vituperation against the evils of certain social customs have has the mainsprings and some European patronage. Why are some of our customs called evil? Because the Europeans say so. That is about the reason he gives. I would not submit to that. Stand and die in your own strength. And if there is any sin in the world, it is weakness. Avoid all weakness, for weakness is sin. Weakness is that. This unbalanced creature are not yet formed out into distinct personalities. What are we to call them, man, human, or animal? While those orthodox people which slouch and were men, there are still some excellent example, and the one I want to present before you is your Raja of Ramnad. Here you have a man than whom there is no more jealous of a Hindu throughout the length and breadth of his land. Here you have a prince than whom there is no prince in this land better informed in all affairs, both oriented and occidental, who takes from every nation whatever he can that is good. Learn good knowledge with all devotion from the lowest caste. Learn the way of freedom, even if it comes from the Paraha by serving him. If a woman is a jewel, take her in marriage, even if she comes from the lower family of the lowest caste. Such is the law laid down by our great and peerless legislator, the divine Manu. This is true. Stand on your own feet and estimate what you can. Learn from your every nation. Take what is of use to you. But remember that a Hindu every times everything else must be subordinated to our own national idea. Each man has a mission in life which is a result of all his infinite past karmas. Each of you was born with a splendid heritage, which is the whole of the infinite past life of your glorious nation. Millions of your ancestors are watching, as it were, every action of yours. So be alert. And what is the mission with which every Hindu child is born? Have you not read the proud declaration of Manu regarding the Brahman, where he says the birth of a Brahmin is for the protection of the treasury of religion? I should say that is the mission not only of the Brahmin but of every child, whether boy or girl, who is born in the blessed land, for the protection of the treasury of religion, and every other problem in life must be subordinated to that one principal theme. That is also the law of harmony in music. There may be a nation whose theme of life is political supremacy, religion, and everything else must become subordinate to that one great theme of its life. But here is another nation whose great theme of life of is spirituality and renunciation, whose one watchword is that this world is all vanity and the delusion of the 3 days, and everything else, whether science or knowledge, enjoyment or power, wealth, name or fame, must be subordinated to that one theme. The secret of the true Hindu's character lies in the subordination of his knowledge of European science and learning, of his wealth, position, name, to that one principal theme which is inborn in every Hindu child, the spirituality and purity of the race. Therefore, between these two and the case of Orthodox man who has the whole of that life spring of the race, spirituality, and other men whose hand is full of Western imitation jewels, but has no hold on the life giving principle, spirituality of this. I do I do not doubt that everyone here will agree that we should choose the first, the Orthodox, because There is some hope in him. He has the national theme, something to hold to, so he will live, but the other will die. Just as in the case of individuals, in the principle of life is undisturbed. If the principal function of that individual life is present, any injury received as regard for function are not serious. Do not kill the individual. So, as long as this principal function of our life is not disturbed, nothing can destroy a nation. But mark you, if you give up that spirituality, leaving it aside to go after the materialism or materializing civilization of the West, the result will be that in the three generations, you will be an extinct race because the backbone of the nation will be broken. The foundation upon which the national edifice has been built will be undermined, and the result will be annihilation all around. Therefore, my friends, the way out is that first and foremost we must keep a firm hold on spirituality, that inestimable gift handed down to us by our ancient forefathers. Did you ever hear of a country where the greatest king tried to trace this their descent not to kings, nor to the robber baron, living in the old castle who plundered poor travelers, but in the semi-naked sages who lived in the forest? Did you ever hear of such a land? This is the land. In other countries, great priests try to raise their descent to some king, but here the greatest king would trace their descent to some ancient priest. Therefore, whether you believe in spirituality or not, for the sake of national lives, you have to get a hold on spirituality and keep on to it. Then stretch the other hand out and gain all you can from other races. But everything must be subordinated to that one ideal of life. And out of that, a wonderful, glorious future India will come. I am sure it is coming, a great India than ever was. Sages will spring up greater than all the ancient sages, and your ancestors will not only be satisfied, but I am sure they will be proud from their position in other worlds to look down upon their descendants so glorious and so great. Let us all work hard, my brethren. This is no time for sleep. On our work depends the coming of India of the future. She is there ready, waiting. She is only sleeping. Arise and wake, and she see her sitting here on the eternal throne, rejuvenated, more glorious than she ever was. This motherland of ours, the idea of God was now nowhere else ever so fully developed as in this motherland of ours. For the same idea of God never existed anywhere else. Perhaps you are astonished at my asserted or at my assertion, but show me any idea of God from any other scriptures equal to ours. They have only clean gods, the gods of jewels, the god of Arabs, and of such and such race. And their God is fighting the gods of the other races. But the idea of that beneficent, most merciful God, our Father, our Mother, our friend, the friend of our friends, the soul of our soul, is here and here alone. And may He who is the Shiva of the Shaivites, Vishnu of the Vaishnavites, Karma of the Karmis, Buddha of the Buddhists, Jaina of the Jains, Jehovah of the Christians, and Jewish, the Allah of the Muhammadan, the Lord of every sect, the Brahman of the Vedantist, He, the all-pervading, whose glory has been known only in this land, may be bless us. May He bless us. May He help us. May He give us strength up to unto us, energy unto us to carry the idea into practice. May that which we have listened to and studied becomes food to us. May it become strength in us. May it become energy in us to help each other. May we, the teacher and the thought, not be jealous of each other. Peace, peace, peace. In the name of Hari.